I had to grab a cold and delicious Gatorade as we play this. And not only do we play that, but you know this show. We play that
I
too.
grabbed the cold and delicious iced tea. That's the taste of summer right there.
It's summertime. Summertime.
Yeah, we heard. Didn't we hear that today? It was playing on the speakers.
Yeah. I heard a little Will Smith. I was like, did Courtland Sutton request that? Hi, my name's Court. This song's going out to George and Greg.
That was before Court's time. There aren't many people on the field, at least in a Broncos helmet, on the playing roster, for whom Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff, of course, Will Smith is the Fresh Prince, for whom that was part of their time. I mean, I
thought Court requested it because of that.
Yeah. True.
That's a callback. Back to yesterday's show. But
that, you know what? That's almost as savage as when I asked Sean Payton if he was going to miss the surprise onside kickoff, because you can't do that anymore. And he said, I think you should ask Indianapolis about that.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's so awesome. We're almost on break. Sorry, we work 11 and a half months a year, and then we get like a little bit of a break. So I'm on one today, Mace.
Yeah.
Nothing illegal. Corporate, don't send me an email. But
it's coming. We can, you know what? We can see the break coming. Now,
yep.
We got to go strong here to make sure y'all have shows for the downtime. But, so, I mean, I guess we're letting you hear. Letting you peer behind the curtain. Unless there's like something big and breaking, the shows the next few weeks are going to be in the can. And that's okay.
Yeah, we got it. It's all good. We are here for you, so we appreciate you for jumping on. And Bo Nix had some struggles today. Now, Mace, when he threw his first interception we've seen him throw, it was a tip pass up in the air. Levi Wallace gets it. I'm standing by myself watching practice, as I often do. You're more of a social butterfly. And I'm doing this. I'm like, flag, penalty on the play. Of course, they're not going to call it. They didn't know.
They're not going to call it. Was also looking for Michael Bandy, and you and I have talked about how that connection, Bo Nix to Michael Bandy, hasn't always been fruitful. Of course, there was the play earlier in OTAs where Bo got the ball to where only Bandy could get it, and he had to dive for it, and he dropped it, basically. When it happened, it did not surprise me that Michael Bandy was the target of the play. But, yeah, there was pass interference. But you were alone. My problem was everyone followed me. I don't know if you saw that when they went red zone at one end, and that meant you had to walk around to see it. I went all the way like on the far field down the sideline, and then I look around and it's like just a trail of media people following me. And then one of the Broncos PR staff said, everyone, seemed to be behind you coming over. I said, look, there are some who are leaders and there are some who are followers.
There you go.
Okay.
You make it happen.
You lead, follow, or get out of the way.
Yep. And great leaders create what? Other great leaders.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that probably on OBT too.
Yeah, you asked about that with coaches on the coaching staff. And you know what? Some of those leaders on the coaching staff also help the players become leaders, which is another thing that we'll probably get. If we don't discuss that today, that's going to be coming up here in the next couple of days here, because Jim Leonard had some interesting things to say about teaching Pat Surtain how to lead, but being true, but allowing Surtain to be true to his personality.
Davis Webb talked about Bo Nix leading the way, and that's the cool thing is we saw him struggle, but you know what else was cool, and it was the Nate Atkins play. I cannot describe the play, but you're going to remember the play because it went for a touchdown. So the defense, and I'm over there, I'm doing what you and I do and watch practice where it's like 1, 2, decide, 1, 2, decide. So I'm counting verbally. And Bo Nix is out there. I go 1, 2, and he does the and the defense goes whoop, and then he goes whoop, boom, Nate Atkins touchdown. wide open. So he used his eyes and a pump fake to manipulate the defense, and it was awesome.
He's got the defense off guard. I mean, I think everyone's going to focus on the interception today, and yet I'm focusing more on plays like that, on the quick decisions, on the ability to create open receivers with a look and with a pump, and on the ability also to quickly adapt to, if you go through your progressions as quickly as Bo Nix is going through them, you're going to be able to get off platform. And you know what? He's making some good off platform, off balance throws as well, on top of everything else, throws that are accurate. And by the way, on that play, Nate Atkins, it wasn't a perfect throw. It got there. It wasn't perfect. Nate Atkins made a really nice adjustment on it to reach around and get the ball. It was a good job at both ends. And actually a real surprise from Nate Atkins, who has caught my eye the last couple of practices that we've seen. He's looked pretty good, getting some more tight end reps as a result of Adam Troutman getting a couple of days to rest and Greg Dulcich still working his way back from injury.
Yes, Kroll the Conqueror, as Jay says in the chat room. Yeah, man, Lucas Kroll looks like a playmaker. And Bo Nix, learning, growing, developing, and steady. That's, I think we'll have some Davis Webb clips, hopefully, like of everything, but like the steadiness. It's the steadiness, because Davis was asked, and I believe you asked this too of Sean, right? What did you think of, when you start the offseason to now? Like, what's different? And that was kind of a question because people were biting off that, which is a great question, right? So there was that question for Davis, like, what do you learn about Nix that you didn't really know? And he was like, consistent.
Yes. Consistent. And what was missing last year? Consistency. It was, they don't want the quarterback that is up, down on the seismograph in a 7.8. They want the quarterback who is steady, maybe not as high, but definitely not as low. That's the thing. And then on balance, if you can get that steady to be a bit above mid-tier, then you've got something, because then you're talking about above average, which is, as you and I have talked about, I don't think Bo Nix is going to be in the elite tier, the Patrick Mahomes tier, the Josh Allen, Joe Burrow tier. Is he in that next tier, and is that going to be enough? I think, yes, he can reach that second tier. Maybe not this year, but I think he'll show signs toward getting there. And then, is that going to be enough? Well, then it becomes a matter of what can you build around him. And that's going to be the key for this Broncos team there. If you've got a quarterback who's a solid 8 to 12 among the NFL quarterbacks, you can win with that passer if you've got enough other pieces. And that's something we're going to get into as we do our position previews, because I had a conversation with Zach Streif. I'm jacked about the offensive line, not only from what I've seen, but from the conversation I had with Streif and what he's expecting to see out of those guys in his second year with him.
Message, that's for sure. Now we got to get to this comment in the chat room from Exclusive 23, because I think it really it matters for what we're talking about here. He says, I've seen people on social media mention Bo Nix throwing off his back foot a lot, and I've seen this often on his college tape. Do you think this is a cause for concern for Bo's throwing mechanics? I'd say mechanically he's sound, because when it's clean or he can step up and climb the ladder, his mechanics are true. When he needs to, Mace, we've seen him throw off his back foot, and we've also seen him get it there.
Yeah, he's throwing off his back foot when he's under pressure, and if he steps into it, he's going to get sacked.
Right.
Yeah, when you're talking about the throwing mechanics and everything looking precise, what we're talking about that is with a clean pocket and with time. When you're under duress and you're about to get hit, the rush is coming quickly. I mean, again, can't say too much, but it's good to get a quarterback prepared for A-gap blitzes. And when you've got that, you're going to have to – that's where it comes down to, can you read it quickly enough and get it off? And, yeah, you're going to be fading back a bit. But the thing is, if you're throwing to the right spot, the vacated spot, when you're dealing with that blitz, it doesn't have to be a perfect pass. It just has to be a catchable pass. That's where you're like, okay, if it's behind whatever, that you're thrown to the vacate area, so the receiver's got a nice cushion with which to work. So it can be behind, and then the receiver adjusts, and you can still make good things happen, and you expose the blitz. I mean, how many times, Patrick Mahomes, they say don't blitz him. Why? Because he'll make that off-platform throw to the vacate area, and you're ashes. So that's what we've seen happen a few times when Bo Nix has been off platform. By and large, most of those plays have ended up being plus plays for the offense. He's punished the blitz.
Yes.
And that's another sign of a quarterback who's a viable starter in this league is, do they make you pay when you blitz and they have that vacate area? Does the quarterback take advantage of that? Bo Nix has done that.
That's why his pressure numbers were outstanding and leading the FBS in yards per attempt by 9 yards an attempt under pressure.
Imagine, we saw how he struggled with that Senior Bowl week because he didn't have familiarity with receivers. Well, we've seen that's one area of growth from week to week is Nix under pressure, and saw a couple of throws today. And part of it is trusting the receivers. When you get that trust and you know that they can capitalize on that, that's when you're going to see things happen. It happened today, even with Josh Reynolds having an excused absence, not being out there. The group that was left behind was still making plays. And that's another thing. You didn't have Josh Reynolds. Courtland Sutton obviously is, still working his way back. You didn't have Greg Dulcich. You didn't have Adam Troutman. The guys that were left were still making plays, which tells you about the depth in terms of pass catchers. That is a little bit of a surprise to me right now. I'm more encouraged by the depth of pass catchers than I expected to be.
Well, it doesn't mean the quarterback has a crutch either. When Drew Lock would throw off his back foot, he'd do it when it was clean. When Jay Cutler would throw off his back foot, he'd do it when it was clean. Like, you're not supposed to do it when it's clean.
When it's clean, he's stepping into it, and his footwork is ideal.
Yeah.
It's the back foot throws are coming under pressure.
Well, Mace, I just think as a side note, maybe this is an off-air conversation, but I think you and I need to get ready for a lot of Nix overreaction. Because in training camp, he threw a pick today. He's throwing off his back foot today. Let's seek the truth and speak the truth.
And that's where context matters. I mean, we're going to tell you what's going on day to day. We're going to talk about that. We're going to disseminate it. But it's where it is in the bigger picture. Is it an outlier or is it part of a pattern? This is where, your daily dose of baseball, this is where the baseball mindset, I think, helps, because you look at things and you realize, okay, that's an aberration. That's a pattern. You sit back and you sometimes have to be patient and wait for a pattern to form. Sometimes the pattern's good. Sometimes it's bad with my Atlanta Braves and how they're hitting. Woof. That's, they've been slumping for nearly in the entire season. That's a pattern. It's been months now. So it's not, now it's like, okay, something's wrong here. How do we fix it? With Bo Nix, if we're sitting there, we're talking about him making the same kind of mistakes every day, I'm concerned about that. What we're seeing is palpable growth from Bo Nix. And as Sean Payton mentioned, he's doing a good job learning the playbook as well.
Yeah, and listen, we gave him a lot. We gave all three of these guys. And, of course, Jarrett's a year further along relative to, understanding it. But the two younger guys, and I say the two younger guys, the two new players, both Zach and Bo, man, there was a lot of install in a short period of time. And realistically, in the season, you spend a week on one plan. And in here, we're moving. So overall, though, it's what we saw and what we evaluated, and that's encouraging.
That's
couple
important.
Things. What we saw, what we evaluated.
That's Oregon Bo.
Yep. That's the guy that it wasn't false advertising.
Did you get what you paid for?
Yeah. And it's early, but remember the comments from Sean Payton about his confidence in their evaluation of quarterbacks at the combine? Confidence that I would say bordered on arrogance, Maybe
it was
crossed
Dwight
the border
Goodman.
to arrogance.
From Dodgeball. Is it White Goodman or Dwight Goodman? Anyway, it was like, we're
White.
better than you, and we know it.
Yeah. White Goodman. Yeah. Who is it? It's
Nobody
White.
makes me bleed my own blood.
Oh, gosh.
Touche to you, Andrew Mason. Because, Bo Nix is learning and growing and developing, and the coach is really happy. I think he does a little PC stuff because anytime he's asked about Bo, what do you think about Bo? He's looking so good. All three are looking good. Coach, we get it.
Okay, speaking of which, only 2 minicamp practices this week. They called off Thursday. We'll get more into that. Might get more into that on OBT too, I think.
Yes,
since we're talking
OBT
since we're talking Bo Nix OBT1.
Yep.
Is there significance to the fact that there were only 2 minicamp practices this week? One day was Jarrett Stidham and one day was Bo Nix with the ones. Because here's the thing, okay? The rotation had been Stidham, Wilson, Nix. The rotation this week for only 2 days was Stidham, Nix. I think we got this thing distilled down to two-way quarterback. Sean Payton didn't say it, but the work this week, it belonged to the 2 that have been the best 2 that we've seen out there.
Once again, Mace, you and I are having a
shared moment.
Because that's exactly what happened. As we were waiting for practice and we're talking to our friends in the media, and it's like, well, is it Wilson today? I was like, it shouldn't be, because that means Nix gets a half a day or no day. So yes, it's Nix. I think it's a 2-horse race, so to speak.
And realistically, based on what we've seen, there are 2 potential starting quarterbacks. Actually,
sure.
If we're even going to go to Chris Sims finished off his top 40 quarterback ranking. Bo Nix, neither Bo Nix nor Jarrett Stidham are very high. Bo Nix is 29th, for example. But they're both in the top 40, and Zach Wilson isn't.
Right.
That's probably fair based on what we've seen. And I'd like to tell you that it changed for Zach Wilson today. It didn't. He did have a couple of nice throws, some throws that had some hot sauce on them that got, that he delivered with plenty of zip. And again, the arm strength, no question on Zach Wilson. It's the decision-making. It's going through things. That being said, if you told me Zach Wilson is on the roster all year as the number 3 quarterback, I'd say great. I have no problem with that. And hopefully he gets the football rehab that he needs running the scout team this year. And then, you know what? If you turn around in March and respectfully to Jarrett Stidham, you decide to re-sign Zach Wilson, that'll tell me an awful lot about the progress that he made as well. That's right. That's another fascinating thing to look at. I think maybe the best case scenario here is Jarrett Stidham shows enough to where either he's your long-term backup here, or let's say he sizzles before handing off the baton to Bo Nix and does well, then maybe somebody makes Jarrett Stidham their at least bridge starter, which is a role that he wouldn't have here beyond this season, because I'd be shocked if anybody but Bo Nix was the starting quarterback in 2025.
Right.
But then you see Zach Wilson making progress and he becomes your number 2 and he settles in there. That'd be an ideal situation, I think. We'll see.
Yeah. Sean Payton talked about the quarterback competition. How do you want me to set up this clip, Mace, or should I just press play?
Just press play and we'll react to it.
It went how I wanted it to go, and again, I've said this not only at that position, but man, the inside backer position, the corner position, the safety position. We'll have a plan when we start camp, and then then we begin to make some decisions relative to reps, all that. But right now, it kind of went like we expected. A lot of good things and a lot of good stuff to coach off of. Things to correct.
Like you expected. Now the question is what that plan is going to be, because this week the plan was 2 days of mandatory minicamp, 1 day for Jarrett Stidham, 1 day for Bo Nix were the ones.
Right.
Zach Wilson was the odd man out.
What were his expectations? And I also like the way Coach finishes that because he's like, lots of things to teach off of.
Yeah.
The teacher. Zach Strief, we'll get into more later. A teacher. How do you be a great coach? Teach.
You know, there were times when Sean Payton did get a little upset, but it wasn't he wasn't reaming out people in the practices we saw. He could be forceful, but
he's encouraging.
This wasn't, it wasn't like watching Butch Berry work a couple of years ago on the offensive line. Those of you who watch this show know what we think of Butch Berry's methodology, especially with somebody like Garett Bolles. Doesn't work. What you saw out there was a lot of good teaching. The conversation I had with Zach Strief today was fascinating because he talked about creating an environment in which you go out there for practice and guys aren't fearing if they have a bad day on the practice field. There's enough pressure on game days, for example. There's pressure in just competing for a job. There's enough out there without the worry of a coach reaming you out and MFing you into oblivion because you decide to try something different in practice to get a new technique down and you struggled. That's the kind of thing that you don't see at Broncos practice. What you see is players, being encouraged to, try different things to add to their repertoire to become better players. And if it means they struggle that day, okay, fine. It's 1 day. Let's go get it. Let's go work on this the next day. Very, very process oriented. I mean, I think it's part of why Sean Payton sounds so excited about this team. He seems genuinely excited about coaching a young team like this, where there's a lot of teaching going on.
Right.
How excited will he be at the mistakes that come with youth sometimes as you get into the season? That might be a different matter entirely. But for right now, it's summertime. It's sunny days. A lot of optimism in Broncos country and a lot of optimism in Broncos HQ.
Now you're going to get me sing-songy, May. Sunny days. Think of that. Rain away.
Can you tell me how to get to Compete Street? By the way, that sign, the Compete Street sign is still up, but it has not been changed. It still says 2023 Compete Street, not 2024. I wonder if they'll change that sign by the press conference area by the time we get back for training camp in mid to late July.
As we wrap up today's show, and we got OBT2 coming tonight, so look for that around 7:00. Edward asks this, and then Mike notices it as well. Sean Payton appears more relaxed, and then Mike says Sean's more relaxed, a different energy this year. Troy Rank, our friend Troy Rank, is fantastic. You could mean Troy Rank. Troy Rank, right? I mean, he's the best. He says to Sean, you seem to be nicer to us. I was just there was a few Dove Valley laughs, right? Some Dove Valley laughs today.
Media laughs.
Yep.
Yeah.
He does seem friendlier. He does seem nicer. I think he's gotten to know us. We're not your enemy, Sean.
Yeah.
We're not. So, and I think he likes a couple of us.
I think the size of the press corps at first for Sean Payton coming in last year compared to New Orleans was a little bit of a jarring experience.
Yes.
But he's also a guy who likes the spotlight. I think back to the league meetings in Orlando, and all of the AFC coaches, they're spread about this hotel ballroom. They've each got a table, and everyone's setting up their microphones and all that. And here are the Broncos. And at that moment, people are saying, okay, this might be the worst team in the AFC. I know there are people still saying that.
Sure.
Not us. But the Broncos they're not a spotlight team right now, nationally. They just aren't. They're in the shadows. That's okay. And yet, despite being in the shadows, being a team that's going to operate off Broadway this year, you look and see all the cameras and all the mics, you see this huge crowd at their table. And compared to even like Kansas City coming off a Super Bowl win, there's not a big crowd waiting for Andy Reid at that table. And I think to some degree, Sean Payton, as he comes to understand the interest and devotion, that he loves it. That even when the team is struggling, it's a spotlight job. It's a spotlight place. This is, I mean, I'd say that this market's very similar to, it's more like a college market. And I mean that in a good way. In terms of the fervency of interest, it feels, you know, it's like, it's more, it compares more to an SEC market than a lot of NFL markets. In my opinion, there are two NFL markets they're this way. One is Denver and one is Green Bay.
Right.
And I think part of the reason for that is there's a lot of natural interest that started like grassroots. It's very much embedded in, you know, the pro football teams are very much embedded in the culture of Wisconsin and Colorado. And with respect to the New Orleans Saints, that college type of atmosphere, it's reserved for LSU, right? You're in SEC country. The Falcons don't get that because you got Georgia, and you know Atlanta's kind of the capital of the SEC. The Panthers don't get that because you got South Carolina, you got Clemson, you got North Carolina, you got NC State around there, and even App State and East Carolina have, you know, that fervency in that region. So that, I think it's something that he's come to love. He understands it. That big crowd of media for day 2 of minicamp for a team that has had 7 straight losing seasons. 7 straight losing seasons, 8 years out of the playoffs, and it is shoulder to shoulder packed to watch this team practice on June 12th. I think at first it blew his mind a little bit. In year 2, just as the players have adjusted to him, he's adjusted to a lot of the things about being a football coach in Denver. And I think he kind of likes that. I think it's like pouring gasoline on a flame for him. That's what it feels like.
Feels great, baby. Hate to quote Jimmy Garoppolo, but yeah, I mean, it's different, everybody. It's different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Again,
Results need to be different. Results
it may not, I don't think it means they're a playoff team this year, but I think long term, this is about getting it in the right direction. This is about getting a new core. And as we'll discuss as we get into some of the offseason shows, it's going to start up front. Man, I am, the Zach Streep conversation really excited me today.
I'm going to get you there, man. I'm going to get you the Ferris Bueller 9 times. I'm going to get you there. I'll get you 9
times.
All right. We need you to help us out on YouTube as we continue to grow our YouTube channel. We thank you very much. Over 12,000 subscribers now. We did it. We ain't done, baby. We got a long ways to go, and we want your help. About 50% of you that watch, 52%, aren't subscribed. So please, I look at the number. You're talking about obsessed with these numbers. So please help us out on YouTube. Mace, how can they do that?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
and hit that notification bell
so that you
never miss a vid.
That's right. He's Andrew Mason. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty?